A monster shot.
It is out of here.
The Red Sox walk it off.
Oh my goodness. Almost 500 feet.
Hey everybody, it's 2018 January, so it's time for our annual Way Early Sleepers fantasy baseball video.
Super deep sleepers.
Super deep sleepers. And we believe these are the picks that can really help you win your team because everybody's going to get a good player in the first round. But these guys, getting value out of your late picks, maybe even getting second, first round type production could help you win your league.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just jump right in.
Let's go.
Player number one I've got is Matt Olsen. And this is, I think, a great sleeper. He had 24 home runs in a short call-up last year, plus 23 more home runs in the minors for a total of 47. And I think he has huge potential to have 40 home runs at the major league level and also have a high OPS. He can strike out a lot, but I think he's this year's Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, playing for Oakland, 47 home runs, dude. I mean, where's he going in the draft?
Well, he's the 17th ranked first baseman and 97th overall.
97th overall, so he's basically ranking around the 10th round.
Yeah, and you're going to be taking Santana,
So, yeah.
Matt Carpenter higher than him, and I don't think they have near the ceiling that this guy has.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this guy, if he can get near 50 home runs, I mean, come on, man. It's all about rookies hitting home runs these days.
Yeah, it is.
All right, well, let me go over to my first round pick. And so the way that I did my list here is I started not so deep, but then I get deep really fast.
Yeah.
So the first guy on my list doesn't sound like a sleeper, but because he's going, right now he's ranked 24, I think JD Martinez is a sleeper because he should be going, end of the first round, beginning of the second round. This is a guy who hit like 45 to 47 home runs, I can't remember, who's probably going to have, another 100 or so, 150 at-bats more this season. And I think this guy's going to turn on another 40-plus home run season, 900-plus OPS. We don't know where his home is yet.
Yeah.
But, there's rumors about the Red Sox. If he goes there, I think that's going to be great for him and that lineup. This is a guy I think you need to draft, especially if he's going mid-third round.
Yeah, and I think it would be really interesting to see if he could have an injury-free season, just how many home runs he hits. And overall, he's a 1,000 OPS type guy.
Yeah, right.
He is.
Absolutely.
All right, so I have tried to help you guys out by having a couple catchers on this list because I don't want you to miss on the Yankees guy, Sanchez, and miss on Buster Posey, then freak out because there's not that much after that. So the guy I've got is ranked 9th as catcher on ESPN, ranked 221st overall, so he barely made it in the top 300, and that's Wilson Ramos. He had a great 2016, hit over 300, had over 20 home runs, and if you get that out of catcher, you're doing really well. He had an injury-shortened season last year. He changed to the Rays from the Nationals. But I think he's talented enough to bounce back really well. I like him a lot better than a lot of the catchers going from like 5th to 8th, and he's ranked 9th. So I think keep an eye on this guy, and he could really help you out.
Yeah, and going so deep, being ranked so deep, he's the kind of guy where you can wait on catcher and take one in the late middle rounds.
Yes.
And then you can go and take him, and he can turn out to be even better value than the guy you took already.
Yes.
Without wasting any high picks on catchers. So I like that. I like that you got some catchers on your list. Okay, coming in at 42 on the ESPN 300 early sleepers list is Luis Severino. And this is a guy who we know, again, he's not really a sleeper, but pitching for the Yankees last season, he had a great year, but he especially had a great second half. And normally you see these hard-throwing pitchers tire towards the end of the season, but he did the opposite. He picked it up, and I think that's going to continue into next year. And with the Yankees lineup winning games, I'm predicting 28-game winner here and the AL Cy Young win.
Wow. That is a bold prediction.
Bold statement.
I don't think, did anyone have 20 wins last year?
I don't think there was any 20 winners last year.
But I think, Yankees is a good team to have with the amount of run support they're going to have. And I agree. I think he's young enough because I worry about drafting pitchers that are hard throwers and are getting a little older because I think their arm is going to tire out at some point. They have a shorter career arc than a lot of players.
Yeah.
And I think he's young enough to where he could still be great.
He's young and he's flashed some greatness.
Definitely. Now, I've got a second catcher here, and I'm going to start getting into how poor I am at pronouncing names. And feel free to comment. I know that YouTubers love to correct.
Tear us apart.
Yes, they love to correct misspellings, and they love to correct when you mispronounce. So here we go. This catcher, who's another one, this one's very deep, so temper your expectations. He's a long shot, kind of a lottery pick kind of guy. It's Jorge Alfaro, if I got that right. He's on the Phillies, and he is outside of the ESPN Top 300. He is the 23rd overall catcher on their ranking, so he is definitely undrafted type of position. But with how we talked about how shallow catcher is, and it's also an injury-prone position, you pick up a guy, he gets hurt, check out how this Jorge guy is doing, and maybe pick him up, fill the spot. If you want to have a bench spot for a catcher, maybe hold on to him, see how he does.
Yeah. We said these were deep picks. So, okay, good option. Back to my list and back to the Yankees. This guy was a sleeper for me last year. Unfortunately, his season was cut short by injury. But this guy's hyped as a solid hitter, and that's Greg Bird. And basically what Greg Bird is going to do is he's going to slip right in the lineup in between Stanton and Judge with Sanchez behind them all. This guy's going to see some pitches because out of all of those guys, he's the least scary. But he's got the potential to hit 30-plus home runs. I think this is his breakout season for the Yankees. And in that lineup that scores a ton of runs, hits a ton of home runs, I think he adds to it. Pick up Bird this year as your first baseman.
Well, one thing about a guy in that type of position, he doesn't even have to hit real well to have a lot of runs scored and a lot of RBIs.
Absolutely.
So I think that's kind of a low risk there for how far down he is in the draft.
Yeah, and it's 117 is where he's ranked right now. I think he'll move up a little bit, especially if spring training comes around and he gets hot like he was last year, because I was high on him last year. We'll see what happens.
All right. Nice. Now I've got another long shot and another one that's just hard to pronounce, and that's Yoan Moncada. Now, you've probably heard of him.
I'm getting good at that.
Am I?
Yeah.
Do you think that was right?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
But it sounded good.
Okay. Now, I think you probably heard of him because he's a real top prospect. There's a lot of people that think someday he's going to be one of the best players in the game. And I think his minor league stats look like the major league stats of Mookie Betts. The combination of power and speed, good batting average. He's number 140 on ESPN right now. Now, just to mention, I'm going off the ESPN list because Yahoo hasn't gotten theirs up yet. I usually like to use Yahoo's rankings because that's where we actually play our league.
Yeah.
But I'm going off the ESPN because they had some very early sleepers. I'm just going off their rankings. But he got a small taste of the majors last year, and I saw MLB the stat page projects him to have 14 home runs and 23 stolen bases in 2018. And I think that's a fair projection, but he has potential to do even better than that.
Yeah.
And I think the White Sox are in a position to give young players opportunities because they're kind of in a sell rebuild mode.
And you always want to get that prospect who hasn't broke out yet, because once they break out, then they're down in the first, second round. This is a guy you can pick up late rounds who can break out and give you that same value. And that's the great thing about sleepers. And that's why we love to do sleeper videos and talk about sleepers, is because there's so much value there.
Yep.
Okay, so my next pick drops all the way down to 134, and that is Miguel Cabrera. This is a guy who was MVP back-to-back seasons, Triple Crown winner, first guy to do it in 30 years, however long it was.
Long time.
More than that. He's going to bounce back. He had a bad season. He's got too much talent to not come back and hit 30-plus home runs, 900 OPS. This guy's a bounce-back candidate for sure, and I definitely would take a stab with him in the 14th round. Yeah. He's not going to go 14th round, but that's where they got him ranked right now.
Yeah, even if he goes, I'd be happy to take him 5th, 6th, 7th round, around that type of range. You might bring up his age, but I think he plays first base and he's a power hitter. I think those last a little longer than speedsters. And there's some weird things going on this season last year, like a divorce, weird things like that. He got in a big fight in the middle of the year with a catcher.
Yeah, he had mental block last year.
And I think the Tigers were kind of dysfunctional last year as well. So maybe they can get their act together and he can bounce back.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's my turn. And I'm going over to the Red Sox with this pick, and it's Raphael Devers. He's the young guy that got pulled up to play third base when Pablo totally failed there, and the Red Sox just released him. But in a short sample size, he hit 10 home runs. Let's see, do I have how many at-bats it was? It wasn't that many at-bats. And he had a total of 30 between majors and minors last year. And to be on a team that was contending for a playoff spot, handle that pressure, play third base, and hit 10 home runs in a small sample size, I think he for sure has what it takes to play a full season, hit 20, 30 home runs in the majors. And going this low, if you miss out on those top third basemen like Arenado or Chris Bryant, this could be a good fallback for some power, some sneaky power. But watch the Red Sox to see how they do in free agency. If they get JD Martinez, if they get Mike Moustakas, somebody like that, I might cut into this guy's playing time.
Well,
but
I think though that the Red Sox are definitely going to do something. Mm-hmm. How it affects his playing time, I'm not sure. But their lineup is definitely going to get better. Mm-hmm. They lost Poppy. Last year was their first year without Poppy for many years. Their home run total went way down. Their run scored was way down. It really affected them. And you know that they're going to want to counter what the Yankees have done. So I think they're going to go out and get somebody. And I think that's only going to improve the people that get playing time in their lineup. Yeah. And that actually brings me to a guy on my list. I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. And that's Jackie Bradley Jr. This is a guy who he didn't have a great season last year. Not as good as he had the year before, where I think he hit 26 home runs. Yeah. I think that this season he's going to come closer to that. He's going to be 25-plus home runs. I think he's a guy that can steal 20 or more bases. I think he has numbers that are closer to his 2016 numbers when they had Poppy in the lineup, because the Red Sox are going to do something to boost that lineup.
Yeah, but I would say this is another guy to watch out for, because I've heard if they get JD Martinez, he's going on the trading block. And the Giants, have reached out and asked about his availability. So we'll see if he ends up on the Red Sox.
Yeah, and that's why these are early sleepers, because you never know what's going to happen. There are still guys that don't have teams, like JD Martinez, Moustakas, Hosmer. These are guys that are going to be fantasy impacts that don't have teams yet. So,
definitely. All right, I think it's my turn. And I've got one who's not a secret at all, but I think he's a value for where he's going, and that's Alex Bregman. On ESPN, he's number 66. You all saw him play in the World Series last year, and I think he's a huge talent. He was taken second overall in the Major League draft, and I think next year he's a 2020 potential type guy. He had, I think, 16 home runs, 16 steals, hit for a nice average, and I think next year he's his breakout. He's going to have shortstop and third base eligibility, which makes his value very good, because in the early rounds you're probably not going to get a top shortstop and a third baseman. So watch out for this guy in the 60s.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the Astros are an exciting team. They're a young team. He's one of the young guys, but they're all young, and those guys, they just don't give up. So I see these guys fighting and being good for a long time, and there's nothing better than having a fantasy guy who's on a team that's exciting like that, because it makes them better.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good option. Okay, going back to my list here, another first baseman who I think could have a bounce-back year, who's going way down in the draft, and that's Chris Davis. This is a guy who just a few years ago hit 50 home runs. And I think he had a little bit of a down year last year. I think he only hit 26 home runs, but I think he bounces back. I think he's 30-plus home runs, around an 800 OPS. This is a bounce-back candidate who you can draft way down there in like the 15th round.
Yeah, I think this is the only overlap we've got, because I've got him as an honorable mention, not in my top 10 or anything like that. But I saw him as value for draft position, and he's somebody that like you could get so far down he's on your bench that could have a 40 home run season.
Yeah.
So not much risk there.
I had a similar guy last year that I picked up. I think I picked him up off waivers, who hit about 30-something home runs. That was Mark Reynolds.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a fine guy to have in my lineup while I was working some things out. And so that's what Chris Davis could be this year.
Definitely. All right, on to my next pick, and that's Manuel Margot. He's number 137 on ESPN. He's a center fielder on the Padres, and he was 6th overall in Rookie of the Year voting, and he's got a lot of young talent here. What he's got to do is improve his on-base percentage. His walks were really low, his strikeouts were high. I think if he improves that, his stolen bases get even higher. He could even push like 40 steals. So if you need steals, look for this guy in the late rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of guys with a lot of talent that have really high ceilings, my next guy at 162 is Ronald Acuna. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. Acuna, whatever. You'll correct me.
Yeah.
He's the outfield prospect for the Braves, and the only question here is 2018 the year that he gets called up, or is it 2019? Now I'm hearing it's 2018. I hear he's playing in the majors this season. If he does, this guy has got a lot of talent. His AAA season last year. Batted .325, .374 on base, .522 slugging, 21 home runs, 82 RBIs, and 44 steals. This is a guy who's got a lot of pop and a lot of speed. This guy can be all around in your fantasy lineup.
And one thing I'd say about a guy like that is just think of the bragging rights if you draft the guy that like wins Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
You're going to say you've got a great eye for players, you're a great fantasy player, and everyone will admire you.
Bragging rights go a long way.
That's what fantasy baseball is all about.
Yeah, right.
Definitely. So my next guy, I actually had to double, triple check this because he's ranked so low on ESPN that I didn't believe it. But he's actually outside the first 300. And that's Scooter Gennett. I was dumb enough to pick Odor last year at second base.
Oh, man.
And he failed. He had a lot of home runs and stolen bases, but his batting average, his OPS was awful. And Scooter Gennett was a waiver wire pickup that saved me. He had 27 home runs, 97 RBIs. And Zach Cozart left the Reds. And so Jose Perez is going to play shortstop, who was taking away some Scooter Gennett playing time last year. So he's supposed to be playing every day.
It surprises me that he's outside the rankings.
Yeah, I mean
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's the 30th overall second baseman.
I mean, if he's a free pick,
yeah,
for nothing, you can't turn that down.
Yeah, it makes me not want to take like a Cano or something like that super early because this guy's hanging out there.
Right.
So I would say
forget about Altuve.
Yeah, Altuve, Cano, all those high guys. Well, Scooter Gennett's way down there, and he did have a 4 home run game, but still 23 home runs outside of that 4 home run game.
Yeah,
I mean that's a lot of pop.
That's
at
a lot
second
of
base.
home runs. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. Okay, here's a guy who kind of disappointed last year, and I say kind of because I still think he hit 30 home runs, and that's Kyle Schwarber. I think he even got sent down for a little while because he was struggling so bad. This guy can't hit lefties, basically. He's a lefty that can't hit lefties. But this guy is working out. He is dedicated to being a good player. There's a lot of hype around this guy early on. He's not playing catcher anymore. He's an outfielder now. This guy looks like a freaking like he's been working out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw those videos, but this guy, he looks a lot thinner, but also built, muscular.
Yeah, and I think he's prepping to move away from catcher completely and be an outfielder.
Yeah, and so I think this is a guy with that kind of dedication. I think he's the kind of guy that could bounce back. He could turn into the hitter that they thought he was going to be, that he flashed in 2015 because he was hurt almost all of 2016.
Yeah.
So this is a guy to just keep your eyes on. He's fallen all the way down. They got him ranked at 193. I think, if nothing else, he's worth 30 home runs. That's what he hit last year, even with the terrible batting average. But, perhaps he can get that up a little bit. And in a pretty nice lineup with the Cubs, with Bryant and Rizzo, you might see him score some runs and have some RBIs.
Nice. All right, so is this the first pitcher we're going to mention right now?
I think so. I haven't mentioned a pitcher yet.
Yeah, so at pick number 68 on ESPN.
Oh, wait, Luis Severino.
Luis Severino, sorry.
I had one.
You had one, sorry. Our second pitcher is James Paxton on the Mariners.
Yeah.
Now he's got a reputation for having some of the best stuff in baseball. And he had a nice strikeout rate last year. I think the Mariners, they've picked up D. Gordon. They've got a few other nice hitters anyway, in Robinson Cano and Nelson Cruz and Seager at third base. So they could give this guy some nice run support. So this could be a guy that gets you a nice amount of wins, over 200 strikeouts. And he's number 68. And in the 60s, I only liked Alex Bregman and this guy. So you got to have a couple options every round. And if you are a guy that waits on pitching, I think this is a good guy to target.
Yeah. I think that would be a good option. He was really good last year.
He was. And I think he could, with more innings pitched, he'd be even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, you guys knew that I was going to bring this guy up eventually, as you can see. And that's Gabriel Torres. They've got him ranked at 245 because, there's still a question of whether he's going to be playing for the Major League team this season. But I don't think there's much of a doubt. The Yankees traded away their second baseman. They don't have a third baseman. Now, he's a shortstop, but they could easily move him into third or second base. I think he makes the team out of spring training. And in that lineup, again, I said this about the Red Sox. I said this about Greg Bird earlier. He's going to be hitting in a really stacked lineup. So for one, I don't think there's going to be a lot of pressure for him to perform because everybody's going to be so good around him. But it's also going to make him better. So this is a guy, and he's a solid all-around guy. And that deep, I think you put him on your bench. If he performs, he performs. Put him in your lineup. If not, you're not risking much because he's so deep.
Yeah, I always like taking upside, young, talented guys. And like I said, it's bragging rights for like how good you can say you are at spotting talent.
Although, I don't know if I could say I spotted him. I mean, this is literally like the number 2 ranked prospect in all of baseball.
Yeah, everybody knows about him, but still, you took the risk on a young guy.
Yeah, right.
All right, so I've got another pitcher, and this is the last of my sleepers list. That's Jose Quintana on the Cubs. He's number 91 on ESPN, and he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year on the White Sox, but after his trade to the Cubs, he improved a lot. He went 7-3 with 10.5 strikeouts per 9 after moving to the Cubs with an ERA under 4. And so I think a full season on the Cubs, he'll look pretty good. He'll have nice defense behind him. He'll have good run support. Maybe Carlos Schwarber will hit some home runs to help him win some games.
Yep.
And I think ranked at number 91, this is the type of guy that could be like one of your better starters on your team at the end of the year, I think.
Yeah. Was that your last guy?
It was.
So I think you had your honorable mention, so I've got an extra guy here.
Nice.
So I've got 2 guys to talk about, and it's 2 pitchers. And again, we're going deep. And these are the guys, just like the past few that I've talked about, who, it's not a sure thing that they're going to make the major leagues right away. So the first guy is Michael Kopech. I believe Kopech is how you say it. Ranked 277. He's way down there. Right-handed pitcher for the White Sox. This guy's supposed to be really good, though. AAA last season. He was 9-8, 134 innings, 2.88 ERA, 1.17 WHIP, 172 strikeouts to 65 walks. And the talk of the town here is that he's probably going to get a call-up sometime in May. And so that's about the time when you're kicking yourself for those starting pitchers you drafted and you want to trade up. And this could be a guy that you trade up to. So keep your eye on that dude. And then the other guy, it's been confirmed actually that by the Dodgers manager that he is going to be in the starting rotation, and that's Walker Buehler. He's not even rated, but this is a guy who's got a lot of talent. He's an 11-plus strikeout per 9 inning type of guy. He got called up last year, and I think he had 1 start. He was in and out of the bullpen. He played 8 games, did not do well, but they're saying this is the year that this guy brings it all together. And again, he's guaranteed a spot in that rotation, at least in the beginning of the year. So pick him up, put him on your bench, see if he works out. That's basically what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I like young, long shot pitchers because nobody's seen them before. And so if they got great stuff, it can take a while for the major leagues to catch up with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing with pitching. It's like you never know what's going to happen with a pitcher. There's a couple of guys who are solid, and if they don't get hurt, they're going to be solid. But there's not that many guys that can claim that. I mean, Kershaw is one of them. I think Bumgarner's another one. You can count on him. But, there's very few guys you can count on when it comes to pitching. So if you can pull the rabbit out of the hat, like with a guy like this for nothing, you're going to be way ahead of the curve.
Nice. All right, so I'm on to just a few honorable mentions, so I'll just mention them real quickly.
Okay.
One of them is Adam Eaton. And so so he's been kind of a middle-of-the-road type major leaguer for a while, but he got moved to the Nationals, and he spent a lot of time injured last year, but in the little bit of time he played, he had more runs scored than games played. And look at how well Daniel Murphy did after moving to the Nationals.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on that guy. Another one is Chris Davis. We already talked about him because he overlapped.
Right.
And another one who I think this is a super long shot, so take that as it's with a grain of salt. But I'd say looking at Zach Cozart and Daniel Murphy, those late bloomers, I think Brandon Crawford really fits that mold of those two guys because those two guys are hovering around 15 or so home runs a year. They were showing some talent. And so look at Crawford's last few years compared to before those guys broke out. Crawford had some unusual things going on that I think kind of held him back last year. One thing that's kind of tragic is I think his sister-in-law died of an asthma attack.
Oh, man.
So he had just some unusual things going on, and the Giants overall were not good. But the last 2 months of the season last year, he hit over 290 and a pace that would have been about 20 home runs. And so if he hits 290 with 20 home runs, He could be that Zach Cozart type, Daniel Murphy type breakout guy that saves you if your middle infield guy craps out on you that you picked initially.
You know, I'm glad that you mentioned him because I was going to give you a hard time for not representing him.
I know, I had to have a giant on the list.
Dude, I think half my list was Yankees and Dodgers. So, I mean, here you are finally calling up a
My next list is going to be all Giants.
There you go, Giants fans. Okay. All right. Well, that's our early sleepers list. But, dude, stay tuned because we're going to have more of these. We're going to put up regular videos. And as the season, creeps up on us, it's coming up really quick. We will have some more accurate sleepers, especially when we start getting into March after spring training's been going on.
Yes.
So just stay tuned.
We're committed to lots of baseball videos this year.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And this year, I'm winning. I'm winning fantasy baseball.
You know, I've had so many third place finishes in baseball. I want to win this year, so I'm after it.
It's been a couple years since I've won. I've been like second place. You know, last year wasn't very good. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm gonna win this time. So stay tuned and stay tuned.
All right.
Dumb guys.